So here's the machine we'll be working on. So the Z390 motherboard has two M.2 SSD slots. You can see them there in the silver and the black. So I have to take the graphics card out of the way to get to them. So we're not doing anything with the black right now. I'm just pulling this drive so that I can put the new drive in that I'm going to install Windows 11. Okay, we got our drive in. Put the graphics card back. And get it all plugged in. So this part I'm doing on my main Windows machine. So next we need to get Windows 11, and we can get that from the Microsoft website. We're going to use the ISO version of the download. So you just answer these questions and it downloads, and it'll take a little while. And save it to your downloads folder. Next, we need to get Rufus. This is what we'll use to create the Windows 11 USB installer. So go down and get the first one and save it to your downloads folder. So open Rufus. You should have a USB stick in your drive that's at least 8 GB. Click on Select and select the ISO Windows 11 file that we downloaded earlier. I changed the volume name here, but when it was done it just changed it back, so it doesn't matter. Hit Start and then make sure that the Remove Required for Secure Boot TPM is checked. So this will take a little bit of time depending on the speed of your USB port and your thumb drive. I sped this up quite a bit. When this is done, just hit Close and then take your USB stick out of your computer, take it over and put it in the Hackintosh that we are installing onto. So when you turn the computer on, you need to hit the delete key a bunch of times to get into the BIOS. There's a couple settings in here that we need to make sure are set correctly for a Hackintosh. This trusted computing and trusted technology settings need to be disabled, because while they might run fine in Windows, they won't work in the OpenCore later. So we're just going to turn them off now. And then we're setting the boot to the drive that we just created, and then restart the machine. And you should have your internet unplugged at this time. So choose your language and say, I don't have a product key. Choose the version of Windows you want. Accept the license terms. And in here you need to delete all the partitions except the unallocated space. Then click Next. I sped this up quite a bit. My computer's not that fast. So when you get to this screen, you need to pull the USB installer out of the computer. The computer will restart and start the setup process. Just select your region here and your keyboard choices. At this screen, choose I don't have internet and then continue without it. Put in your name, hit Next, and if you don't want to sign in every time you start up the computer, just don't put anything in that box. So next, turn off all of this stuff. You don't need any of that. You can always turn all this stuff back on and set up your internet stuff later. Okay, this part will take a few minutes. I sped it up here. And here it is. So now you can plug in your internet and you'll see the rest of those icons light up. Then you can go into Settings and go down to the bottom, the Windows Update, and you'll have like a whole bunch of updates there. So you can do all your updates and get all that done and then restart the computer. Okay, that's done. Now it's time to install Big Sur. So again, we have to get the graphics card out of the way because we're going to use the same slot to install Big Sur. And when that's done, we'll put the Windows drive back in the lower slot. Get this drive installed along with the heatsink. You might notice I switched the graphics cards because this one's more compatible with OpenCore. And get it turned on. So again, when it starts up, we need to get into the BIOS and reset the boot drive to our OpenCore installer. So here we want to select the OpenCore installer. So So when we get to this screen, we want to select Disk Utility and then View All. Then select the drive that we installed. Hit Erase and give the drive a name. In this case, I'm just calling it Hack Z390. Keep the format on APFS and click on Erase. Click Done and close this box. Next, click on Install macOS and continue. And continue, and agree, and agree. Select the drive we just formatted and continue. So this part will take a little bit of time. I sped it up quite a bit. Then it will restart. Make sure it stays on the macOS installer. And again, this part will take a little bit of time. It says 29 minutes. I sped it up quite a bit. And then it should come up with the Hack Z390. Make sure it stays on that one. And here you can select your region. So your internet should be plugged in at this point. Just click Continue here. And on this screen, just say Not Now. You can always set up this stuff later. And now we want to say No Internet. And then just Continue. And Continue. So we don't want to do any migration stuff right now. We're trying to do a new clean install. So we just say Not Now. And we're going to do this later. And skip this. And agree. And agree. Put your name in. And then create a password. And they want you to put your password in again. And a hint. Click Continue. And continue. And continue. And set up later. I don't use Siri, so I'm turning that off. Continue. I like the dark background, so I'm changing to that and hit Continue. And follow instructions for the keyboard. And there we are, Big Sur installed. So here's our Mac installer USB disk. And this is another thumb drive that has files on it that we need. So first we need to copy the files from this thumb drive onto the hard drive. So next I'm going to show you how to set up the macOS system that we just installed so that it can start up on its own and without all that verbiage on the screen. So we need to get into the partition that's hidden on each one of these drives. First thing we need to do is be able to see the drive. So we need to turn on hard drive viewing. So there's our Hack Z390, and we have our install Mac Big Sur. So we'll open this Mount EFI, and we want to show the Hack Z390 and the install Big Sur. So put in our password after we say each one. So there's both our hidden folders. So first let's open the EFI on the installer USB drive. And you can see the EFI folder there. And if we open the Mac Z390, we need to copy that whole folder into the hidden partition of the Hack Z390. Next we can eject the installer USB because we're done with that. Now we want to work with the EFI folder on the Hack Z390. First we'll go to Property and open the config sys file. And go to the NVRAM section and find boot args. Just double click here and take out the -v, and that'll get rid of the verbiage for us. Save the file and exit. Then we can eject the EFI folder, put it back to the hidden state, close everything, and restart the machine. Okay, that looks good. Looks like it's all installed. Now we need to shut everything down and install the Windows drive back in. So we're going to put the Windows drive back in this lower slot. First we'll take the heat sink out. And put the Windows drive in. Put the heatsink back. Turn the machine back on. Then we need to go back into the BIOS and set the boot drive to the Windows disk. And restart. And there's our Windows. Next we'll shut down. Go back into the BIOS and set the boot option to our Big Sur drive as the default. Now each time when we start up the machine, we have this menu where we can choose which operating system we want to use. So if we do a restart, we come back to this menu, you can choose Windows, and there's your Windows. Here I'll go into the settings so you can see the specifications. So I hope this information was helpful and maybe useful in setting up your own system. I'll catch you on the next one.